India's stern warning to China. Military options are on the table if diplomatic talks fail. India insists status quo ante must be restored at the LAC. China deploys surface-to-air missiles at the Mansarovar Lake. The writing is on the China wall. India won't back down. That's our top focus on India First. China has now deployed surface-to-air missiles at the holy Mansarovar Lake. China has also increased armor, artillery and aircraft deployment opposite Ladakh. So what signal is the Dragon sending out? What are India's military options that General Bipin Rawat, Chief of Defence Staff, speaks of? Military options are on the table should diplomatic talks not result in the Chinese army withdrawing from flashpoints in Ladakh, according to General Bipin Rawat, the Chief of Defence Staff. The general, who's tasked to offer single-point military advice to the government on matters military, was very clear in saying India stands firm on the aim of restoration of status quo ante along the line of actual control. India hopes that China will see reason, but should it not, military options remain open for India. Manjeet Singh Negi brings you our top story tonight. India has issued a stern warning that military options are on the table should there not be a breakthrough in India-China talks. Chief of Defence Staff General Bipin Rawat said that military options to deal with Chinese transgressions are being discussed. General Rawat, who provides single-point military advice to the government, said military options to deal with transgressions by the Chinese army in Ladakh are on, but it will be exercised only if talks at the military and the diplomatic levels fail. India has so far had 5 rounds of military talks at the level of the corps commanders and multiple rounds of diplomatic talks, including one between National Security Advisor Ajit Doval and the Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, during his visit to Ladakh, had made India's position very clear.
हम वो लोग हैं जो बांसुरी धारी कृष्ण की पूजा करते हैं, तो हम वही लोग हैं जो सुदर्शन चक्रधारी कृष्ण को भी आदर्श मान करके चलते.
Prime Minister Modi paid rich tributes to the Galwan Braves from the ramparts of the Red Fort, proudly stating that be it the LOC or the LAC, Indian Braves were giving a befitting response to the transgressors.
LOC से लेकर LAC तक देश की संप्रभुता पर जिस किसी ने आंख उठाई, देश की सेना ने, हमारे वीर जवानों ने उसका उसी की भाषा में जवाब दिया.
In fact, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh earlier commented on India's defence preparedness amidst hectic activities to speed up deployment and infrastructure development along the LAC.
लेकिन मैं इतना यकीन दिलाना चाहता हूं कि भारत की 1 इंच जमीन को भी दुनिया की कोई ताकत छू नहीं सकती है.
India has been firm that China needs to restore status quo ante at the LAC to the pre-May 2020 position. After 20 braves of the Indian Army made the supreme sacrifice of their lives at Galwan, restoring the sanctity of the LAC, both India and China sought to disengage troops and prevent a repeat of Galwan. China too suffered an unspecified number of military casualties. However, China has been dragging its feet on the restoration of status quo ante at the LAC despite multiple rounds of talks with India. With Manjeet Singh Negi in Delhi, Bureau Report, India Today. So China has not only dragged its feet on restoration of status quo ante, it may have committed to it in bilateral talks. China on ground has actually enhanced its military deployment and posture near the holy Mount Kailash. Satellite imagery shows deployment of surface-to-air missiles near Lake Mansarovar. There has also been increased air activity in Chinese bases across the line of actual control, with Chinese jets carrying out sorties, flying sorties not far from the Ladakh line of actual control. So India is keeping a hawk eye on all developments across the LAC and has deployed forces to counter any Chinese aggression.
China continues to talk peace and engages in dialogue, but its troops still hold on to strategic heights in eastern Ladakh. And now China has set its eyes on one of the holiest sites of Hinduism. Satellite images reveal how the Kailash Mansarovar, a place of huge religious importance to Indians, now resembles a battle zone with heavy military presence. The latest satellite images from the 16th of August indicate that the Chinese have built a surface-to-air missile site in these serene mountains. A deeper scrutiny of the satellite imagery reveals 4 platforms for surface-to-air missile transporter erector launchers with 3 radar ramps. And that's the activity just on land.
The most holiest place for Hindu religion is Mount Kailash and Mansarovar. That is what China is trying to do. China is trying to convert this holy place into a battlefield. I'm sure the Indian Air Force will keep this in mind and take this SAM location out in the first go.
China's most advanced fighter aircraft, the Chengdu J-20, has been spotted making its first known appearance at the Hotan Air Base in China's Xinjiang. The appearance of these 2 jets could be the most significant development in what has been a very visible beefing up of deployments here. Given China's openly hostile intentions, the appearance of these jets and deployment of the missiles not far from the standoff zone is being watched closely by the Indian military. Bureau Report, India Today.
So if you notice, China's gestures are openly hostile. What are India's military options? What are our diplomatic options and economic options? Was it a mistake, as some suggest, not to have pushed the Chinese back forcibly in the initial days? Joining me on the show is Lieutenant General Sanjay Kulkarni. He knows this area like the back of his hand. He's former Chief of Staff of the Leh Corps. Ambassador Vishnu Prakash knows China, has studied China. He joins us on the diplomatic perspective. And Wing Commander Rohit Berry will tell us how air warriors intend to handle the threat. General Kulkarni, to you first. It's been over 3 months. The Chinese appear to be fortifying themselves along the LAC. What does this signify? Has the LAC been altered permanently now?
Gaurav, I wouldn't say that it has been altered permanently. That is what we intend, restoring status quo ante as on April 2020. But yes, the Chinese have been talking about peace and tranquility. But what we notice is concentration. Is it for coercion or is it for confrontation? And that is what is now got to be seen. And therefore, it is in this context that we all talk about that, yes, we must be militarily prepared. If you are not prepared, then you'll be caught off guard. And since we must be prepared, only that is a deterrent. If you are not ready, then something, what we don't want it to happen might just happen. It is in this context that you find all these statements are being made, military plans. It is not that we are looking for confrontation. It is looking for talks to ensure no confrontation takes place. It is only when you are prepared, there will not be a confrontation. But if China is only talking,
but the apprehension is, no, General, the Chinese are talking, and I want to bring in Ambassador Vishnu Prakash. Ambassador, how would you respond to this criticism that some argue the government fell for the Chinese ploy of talks as the Chinese consolidated their position at the line of actual control? There hasn't been a positive development from these talks either in these past 3 months. They've only consolidated themselves. Ambassador Prakash.
Yeah, Gaurav, could we have foreseen Chinese response? I'm afraid not. India's preferred option always has been talks, and it is through the medium of talks that we have always diffused situations. So that is the right position. We have had almost at the highest level mill-to-mill talks and political and diplomatic talks. And you are right that China has used this over 100-day period to consolidate itself, and it seems that they have dug in and they are at a breakneck pace building infrastructure on along the LAC. So they do not have intentions to leave in a hurry. That's very true. So hitherto, what India has been doing is to A, talk, B, exercise economic and diplomatic options. We have taken a series of economic measures, and we have kind of, spoken to and brought on board very many powers. So that has been India's chosen option so far. And yes, also as your report said, we made it very clear that we will defend every inch of our territory.
Fair enough. Vinko Berry satellite images show surface-to-air missiles being deployed at Mansarovar. The place is holy for Hindus, but that apart, is that a signal that Chinese apprehend heightened Indian air activity in the area and China's plugging gaps?
Yeah, definitely. So they have been increasing their deployment in the Hotan base, and the kind of deployment, the kind of aircraft which are being deployed there, it clearly signals an intent that they are building up forces towards what we call a strike package, in terms of a complete strike package, which includes the flankers, the J-8, the airborne early warning assets, as well as the electronic warfare aircraft. And these are the main elements of a strike package that these aircraft work in conjunction. And further, the surface-to-air missiles themselves, that is another part. And it is, of course, being met on this side by India's deployment of its assets. So clearly, there is build-up on both sides, a military posturing on both sides. And this will continue, as the ambassador and the general were saying, that we'll continue to build our forces. As of now, the stages in where we are talking about.
So it's a game of brinkmanship. It's a game of brinkmanship.
Yeah, brinkmanship.
Okay, it's a game of brinkmanship that's currently underway. But is this for coercion or confrontation? And let me take that to General Kulkarni once again. Given the kind of deployment that's taking place and the defenses that are being prepared by the Chinese, is it very clear now, General, is it apparent that they're not digging in for any temporary deployment? This is a long haul, or in your appreciation, a permanent deployment?
Well, it's for a long haul, definitely for a long haul. It doesn't seem to be permanent digging in, but one can't talk about Chinese because Chinese are what they say they don't do. So that is one. And plus, whenever we are looking at it, we must look at it from the point of view of forewarned is forearmed. Capacity building takes time. Intentions can change overnight. To ensure that nothing goes wrong, we must be prepared. There is no denying the fact. It's a long haul. Otherwise, why else? The kind of suggestions even coming from the Chinese that equidistant disengagements to take place, these are something ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous, because we are wanting it status quo ante. April 2020, and the talks of having a equidistant disengagement taking place at the Finger area in Pangong is something nobody will accept it. So the Chinese must, whatever they say and whatever they're doing, must be taken with a pinch of
salt. Now, for the benefit of viewers, yes. Oh, a pound of salt. But you're absolutely right. And for the benefit of viewers, what are the Chinese saying? Equidistant. They want us to move back the same amount that they intend to move back. So if we want them to move back from finger 4 to finger 8, they want us to move back from finger 4 to finger 1 or even before that. And that's unacceptable, General, because we were deployed at finger 3, between finger 3 and finger 4. So this equidistant moving back is unacceptable, General.
Gaurav, the very fact they're insisting on status quo ante April 2020 is indicative that they must fall back to their position. Now, where that is exactly what it is. You know, these transgressions, we have to really understand. These are these words have to be understood. These transgressions have taken place because of the different perceptions of the LAC. It is that what causes transgression. And this transgression, to ensure that people go back to their respective areas of their LAC, there are systems in place. And those systems, banner drills, telling the troops to go back. But what the Chinese have done this time, they have just not transgressed, but they have decided, and to ensure that this intrusion is not for a longer period, the talks are on. And therefore, the military level talks are on, diplomatic level talks are on, economic sanctions are there, ensuring that the kind of measures that the government of
what
India
are India's options?
A long haul.
Yes. What are India's options at this stage? Ambassador Vishnu Prakash, banning 59 apps. General, long haul, let's get into specifics. Ambassador Vishnu Prakash, banning 59 apps, barring Chinese companies from telecommunications on 4G upgrade or infrastructure like roads and railways. Are these steps enough, or does India need to up the ante? Because long haul could be that the Chinese could be there for a year, 2 years, 3 years, and that would practically mean that LAC has been altered permanently. Ambassador Prakash.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is what India has chosen to do. Not do anything in a hurry, to take measured and calibrated responses. So there are a number of steps that can be taken, which we are taking. I hope that the next step would be to ban Huawei, and that will be something that it's about time we do that, because we all know that it's a state-owned enterprise which reports directly to PLA. And worldwide, there is concerns about Huawei's activities. And if India were to do that, that will further, I hope, and I'm sure rather, strengthen the resolve of other countries to take similar actions against Huawei. Then I think we are progressively heading towards a ban on Chinese imports. There is no reason why we should allow Chinese imports to happen. Tourism to China. Now, let me also talk about another diplomatic move that we can do, and that is, why should we allow China to have a consulate in Calcutta? Because historically, we had a consulate in Lhasa and China in Calcutta. But, there was a change. And we allowed Calcutta in lieu of Guangzhou. So I guess that can be done. There are a number of, and then let's not forget Quad, let's not forget G11, D10. So we have a number of options that we can exercise. But lastly, Gaurav, the key to success always is in diplomacy and talks, that you talk softly and carry a big stick. Question is whether we can do both.
Okay.
But we are taking calibrated steps, and that is the right approach in my view.
Fair enough. Talk softly, carry a big stick. Do we have a big stick, Vinko Berry, in your appreciation? What are India's options when we talk about a big stick?
Yeah, Gaurav, so I think we are all well aware of it. Maybe I don't know what all information which I know is confidential, and I don't want to speak about it. But let's say that we are well equipped, both from an Air Force perspective, both from a tactical and a strategic perspective. We are well equipped to take care of any threat which develops across the.
But with the Chinese now deploying their S4, if the Chinese have their S-400s, is that a cause for concern for our fighters? Okay, I seem to have lost Wing Commander Berry. I'll try and reestablish that link with him. General Kulkarni, some analysts argue that India had the advantage during Galwan, where our boys showed unparalleled valor. They put the Chinese on the defensive, and the Chinese were actually worried after losing 40 chaps by some account or more by other accounts. Have we squandered that advantage, or do we still have the military initiative and advantage when it comes to use of kinetic force?
Gaurav, I think that advantage still stands. It is because of the incident that occurred on Galwan on the night of June 15th is what has shaken China. It is something which they never expected. It was just raw courage by the troops and at the spur of the moment for their commanding officer having been killed by them. And that reaction, the instant reaction which led to many more deaths on the Chinese side is what has put them on the back foot. That if this is what India is prepared with just raw courage, what would happen? And now when we have almost equal strength on either side, I think the Chinese are on the back foot. And this is the advantage. That is where talks can play a big role. That's where the diplomatic engagement can play a big role. That's where the economic sanctions will play a big role. Because the Chinese realize that they seem to have now committed a mistake. This is not what they had planned for. And having said that, now I feel in next 2 months, we might just see some change occurring.
Okay, you expect change in the next 2 months, but Wing Commander Berry, the way we see Chinese deployment, coercion or combat or confrontation, is it just posturing, or has this game of brinkmanship now gone beyond posturing? And with their S-400s, does that neutralize to an extent the advantage we have in air power?
Definitely, I'll not say that S-400 is not a potent weapon. It is. But at the same time, Gaurav, let me assure you that there are ways and means to take it out. And if such a strategic weapon is there, then that will obviously be our first target. And I'm sure the planners, they have taken that into account, and they have already taken those plans into account on how to neutralize the most strategic target in that particular area. Just to continue with the general's point, I think this is... Sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
No, go on, sir, quickly.
Yeah, so just to go on with general's point, I think that they have realized that it is a mistake, but it is they want to keep this pursuing on. And then, in fact, they are doing this not only in India, but also in Taiwan and in South China Sea. In fact, starting today, they started some naval exercises.
Ambassador Vishnu Prakash, in your view, I have 30 seconds, precisely 30 seconds on the broadcast, but in your view, when the Chief of Defense Staff says military options are on the table, what impact will this have on the Chinese?
Well, very good question, Gaurav. In psychological warfare, which is also a part of conflict, there is a need to create uncertainty. And that we need to, there has to be ambiguity, there has to be uncertainty. And if we have the military option, I mean, my only question is, why speak of that? By talking of the military option, if diplomatic talks fail, are we not committing ourselves? Are we kind of taking away the element of surprise? That is a question that I've been asking myself. I don't have an answer.
Fair enough. We will continue to probe this closely. I have run out of time on the show this evening, but remember, a number of calibrated steps, as all our guests said, are being taken by the government. Will these steps have the desired impact to ensure that while we have weapons of war deployed, we don't need to use them for the restoration of status quo ante? We'll be tracking that story very closely. General Kulkarni, Ambassador Prakash, and Wing Commander Berry, as always, very thanks for joining me on India First. A quick break. News and updates continue on India Today. Stay with us.
Hi everyone, Preeti Chaudhary here. Hope you like this video. For latest news and analysis, like and subscribe to the India Today YouTube channel. And don't forget to press the bell icon to stay updated. Thank you for watching.